Okay.
Hi! So, we're on week 5 and I'm going to hand over to Luke to ask the questions like he does every week.
Yes. We are going to be looking at how Sally's job role has changed as well during this process. I think it's fair to say that before lockdown, your job was quite sort of like big thinking stuff, big strategic elements. How has that changed during lockdown?
So I think immediately it went into service design, looking at new services. So kind of rather than thinking about what do I need the charity to look like in 2 years' time, and what plans do I need to put in place in order to do that, it was suddenly a case of given government are saying we're going to be in lockdown probably for a 3-month period, how do I get our customers, our staff, our volunteers and everybody else kind of through that short period of time, knowing that their world's going to be completely turned upside down. So I guess it, went from talking about strategy, working up partnerships, working with loads of different people across the county, talking to donors and supporters about how we were going to grow Sage House and expand our service offering into a place where we were looking at rotas and how do we expand the service so that we're running 12 hours a day and over the weekend as well. And I played a part in that as well. I sort of had the phones myself.
So let's say you working Monday to Friday, and then on a Saturday you're taking the phone line, so talking to our customers, talking to our carers. How was that? Because obviously your previous job, I guess you'd have had a lot more involvement in that, but obviously with the strategic thinking there's a slight removal of that process. How has it felt kind of going back to that?
I think it's actually it's going to sound awful, it's actually a really helpful thing to do. It's kind of, you sort of watch those programs and you listen to people talk about that back to the floor thing, but actually, it's a stark reminder of what our customers were going through at the time, and I kind of needed to hear some of those conversations and have those discussions with people, because it was, to use the phrase, unprecedented times again, but it was conversations we weren't having previously.
I think we've all worked alongside like our wayfinders. We've heard stories and we've heard about conversations they've had. It's very different to that first-hand situation. I think, once again, our wayfinders do an incredible job of dealing with those conversations. But like I say, it's been a stark reminder for you about why we do what we do.
Yeah, completely, and how the importance of adapting it during that period of time as well, ensuring that we could support people, going from a service that's face to face with individuals to suddenly being over the phone, how do you make sure that you are still giving as good a level of support as you possibly can, without that ability to kind of place a hand on somebody else's and give a bit of a squeeze and say, come on, this is all going to be okay. Humbling times, I guess.
Yeah, I guess also we've been quite lucky in that we've had some staff that have remained at Sage House. So talking about the importance of being able to communicate with people, not just on the phones, not just at weekends, but all the way through. And we've had a couple of people that have just turned up to Sage House, and I think quite early on, like we had our first kind of person turn up. Do you want to?
Yeah, there was a gentleman who turned up, and I saw him pull up in the car park, and obviously we're closed, so I wondered what he might need. So I just thought I'd just go out and say hi. He did look a little bit upset, but I didn't know who he was, and we just had a little chat, and he said that he'd previously come to Sage House. He just wondered if it was open, So I explained that obviously we're temporarily closed, but I did say that we have got our phones were open, you know, our wayfinders were there to speak to anybody, so he could call us if he wanted to have a little chat. And I mentioned the activity pack that we had, so and he seemed keen to have one, so I came in and got him a pack, made sure it had the leaflet in, and he went on his way. And then Jackie, one of the wayfinders, sent me an email to say that he'd reached out to her, and that his wife had died very recently and used to be a customer of ours. So, but he still was, when we were open, he'd still come in for a cup of tea and just feel part of it. And obviously he was feeling very lonely that day and just wanted to, you know, see some people who he knew, and obviously we weren't here. So by reaching out to Jackie, she's now then immediately realised that there was a need there, and she's been speaking to him regularly since. So that's fantastic. So great that he was still able to get the service. And even though he's not a customer, his wife was. We look after everybody, you know, the whole family's always involved still. So that was amazing.
And I think that's a really, you know, that's a really telling example of the fact that real life was still going on during this time. You know, that chap was grieving and he needed support in his grief, and his way of getting that previously was to come along, speak to people, really kind of reminisce about his wife, talk to people who knew her, and that was taken away with COVID. And I think, you know, the fact that we were here to be able to just have that, you know, 10-minute conversation with you, he then reaches out and actually suddenly, I'm not saying of course it wasn't all better again, but at least he was supported in the best possible way over that period of time.
Yeah, and I think it's one of the things we've seen a few times. So last week, Mr. P suddenly turned up at our door, unexpected to all of us, but ended up with you wearing one of our Dress Up for Dementia outfits. It was the 1940s we had done in reflection of Vera Lynn passing away. So you ended up at
a bus stop. Yes.
With Mr. P.
For 40 minutes.
Yeah.
Stood there.
Yeah, waiting for another bus to come to take him home.
Yeah.
But I think it's, you know, people, you know, our customers are still walking around. We know this from previous vlogs. Mr. P's been out and about. He hasn't really kind of got to grips with what's been going on.
He's never observed the lockdown.
No.
One thing that is great is that he has grasped the concept of, which has been a real worry because he uses the bus a lot.
Right.
There was a real concern amongst the team over the last few weeks when they changed the legislation around wearing masks, face masks on public transport, and he was wearing a face mask when he turned up. So that's something that you know, is a challenge for our customers largely, and but goes to show that people can adapt and people will adapt. And you know, he's still on the bus with his face mask on. And yes, turned up here, hasn't turned up again since, which is interesting. But I think we're all expecting him to
just to suddenly turn up again,
come through the door any day again. But he continues to ring on a very frequent basis.
Yeah, and then you were talking about the gentleman that turned up, and talking about how you'd given him you'd said to him about having a pack for him to sort of go home and do. So I think this was also the week that we started looking into getting our second pack sorted. What was the difference between the first pack and the second pack?
Well, I suppose the second pack we knew exactly how many we would need because we'd already reached out to the parish town clerks and obviously already delivered to our customers. So we thought we only needed 300, which quickly went up to 1,400. So at least we knew how many we were going to need, and that we would be able to use them. You know, they were going to be of benefit to people. They weren't just going to be sitting around here hoping. So we knew that 1,400 people wanted them again. And now here we are, we're just about to get pack 3 sorted out, which will mean then with some additional packs that we had, we'll be on like 4,500 packs will have been given out by the end of this, and the need is still there. You know, it's the conversation I've still been having with people, the parish town clerks, the care homes, lots of people who are now potential customers for us, they still want them. You know, they're used to them. It's almost a habitual thing.
Yeah.
They enjoy them and they stimulate them.
Great.
And the stories that we've had of where people have been really going in on themselves and not wanting to engage with anybody and getting quite really down have actually started to colour in, started to do word searches when they weren't even at that level, which has been fantastic, really, for us. So success stories all around. So
And I think by Pack 2 we were very, very aware that we had kind of done what we could with the funds that we had, and we knew like you're saying, the need was still there, but we kind of knew that we had done what we could with the funds that we'd got.
So we've managed to get a local company to support us with the next pack, which is Cameron James Legal, which is fantastic. They're a lovely family-run business, and been a supporter of us for a couple of years. This is just additional support, and it's brilliant.
Yeah.
Couldn't ask for more. So
and it came at a perfect time as well.
It did, and we want to continue the packs. You know, we want this to be a long-term.
Relationship
With them and our customers. We want to still be able to give them out to people, so brilliant.
Yeah, and I guess talk about relationships as well. You through this vlog, through like a Zoom meeting, met up with another CEO. Do you wanna...
I did, and well, it was a guy actually that I used to work with in my previous life. And he's now a chief executive of a charity in the Bristol area, and he kind of got in contact with me, firstly because he'd seen the vlog and had been reading the blog as well from LinkedIn, where we were kind of networked together. But I thought what was really interesting was that he'd actually used the vlog as an opportunity of training with some of his staff, because, you know, I think all of us were kind of struggling with the how do we move to being something completely different to what we've been in the past, and how do we use modern technology to best effect, and how can we kind of have a bit of a step change in line with COVID. And he obviously appreciated the vlog, and I think some of the honesty and openness that we probably had within that and the blog as well was something that his team would benefit from as well. So that really lovely to hear, because you hope that, you know, people are finding it either of interest or of use, and that was one example where clearly it was, and that was great.
And you two have kind of caught up a few more times since then, haven't you?
So we speak on a fortnightly basis, and actually it's really nice because there's no, you know, we're not in competition at all. He's in a totally different part of the country to me, yet, you know, the issues that we face as in our roles are just very similar.
Yeah, great.
You know, he runs a day centre in Bristol with the, you know, daybreak service we offer here. You know, we're constantly thinking about when can that come back, what does that look like, and to know someone else is kind of in that position as well, and it does bring you comfort. So that's been a great relationship to foster.
Nice. And I think something we started started in week 4 was our dress up for dementia, but we carried on for this week and started our very slippery slope into dressing up for dementia. But we had your granddaughter turn up, and I think this week was superheroes, and she had dressed up as
Batgirl, yes.
Which was an incredibly cute way to end our week, because I think it was a great week, but I think kind of
it was uplifting.
It was uplifting.
Having you know, a young one come in, and she's so happy, she's gorgeous. So I think that was well timed.
Yeah, it was, and I think, you know, for me, and I've talked very openly about it, but kind of sort of being on my own, I hadn't, you know, been socially distancing up until very recently, since I got my bubble, which I'm very happy about, which obviously is my granddaughter and my daughter. But during that time, just to get a glimpse of her, albeit 2 meters away, was kind of really lovely. But also the fact that she'd got all dressed up meant she was still part of what we were doing.
Yeah.
So that's
Yeah.
kind of.
Cheered us all up.
But but once again, that's something that's been ongoing. She's become kind of like
She's our mascot.
she's become like
each week.
an unofficial staff member in terms of dress up for dementia. Like every week, I'm kind of more excited to see what she kind of
She's
like
got
dresses
us, I
up
know,
as.
Yeah, I
It's
think
always
we
way
all are.
cuter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
just a little bit.
Yeah,
Than
Yeah.
you, yes.
yeah, definitely than me. Anyway, so thank you very much for listening, and we will come back with week 6. I hope you're enjoying them. The end.
Da-da.
Whoa, that was weirdly timed.